Do you consider yourself someone who is confident? It's a harder question to answer than you think, isn't it? Confidence is situation dependent. I know I can walk into one party and be life soul of the party and the centre of attention, feel absolutely on top of the world. And I can walk into the same party with the same friends the next week and struggle to speak to anybody. Confidence is something that's complex, it's situational dependent, and there's so many levels to it. So this is something me and Rob discussed on this episode of the podcast. We talk about the defining moments in our lives that helped us build confidence. We talked about the areas of our life where we may be more confident than others. Rob is upcoming going to stand on stage at a Paul Mort event. He's also been on stage in what he thinks was thousands of people with his rock band. But he also talks about times where he struggles with confidence. Things that maybe to you may seem easy, when some of these bigger events to you might seem terrifying. We talk about whether confidence is nature or nurture. We talk about how important it is to do hard things, and the ability to embrace your inner weirdness is actually more important than status itself. If you enjoy this episode, as always, share on social media, leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast from, and I will leave you with myself and Rob McGeary. So Rob, another week, another episode, and generally this one was inspired by your Pink Panther post, because it got me thinking of all the times I went out in university, and I think university for me was the defining moment in my confidence. And I thought, okay, confidence is going to be something we chat about, because we help guys improve their confidence by getting in shape. I've helped coaches improve their confidence. What we do is a confidence business indirectly. Before we delve into it, and I'll take it, would you deem yourself to be a confident man?
Way more now than I ever have been in my life. I didn't go to university. Had I gone to university, chances of me going out in fancy dress, chances of me socializing, chances of me succeeding at university were slim. I was extremely underconfident. And even now, there's people who know me, when I still automatically describe myself as a bit of an introvert. I was extremely introverted in my teens to my early 20s, extremely introverted. And people don't think of me as that because they know me now. So it's taken a lot of time, and it's taken obviously a lot of confidence building, but it's still that pattern of I don't really describe myself as a confident person. But that's a viewpoint. I need to change that, because there's so many things I've done where I'm like, that took some real confidence to do that. So I'm definitely more confident now. And we'll talk about this in great detail today, because confidence is such a fascinating subject. But confidence really is a post-event emotion. This is one of the biggest things I got taught by Paul Mort. Confidence is a post-event emotion. You don't always need confidence to do something. That confidence comes later down the line as a result of what you've done and looking back and going, fuck yeah, I did that. So now as I'm just about to turn 40, I can look back over the last 20 years, which is depressing to say that. But I can go, yeah, I can see how confidence has increased. Man, yeah, I would not have described myself as confident previously.
That's a really interesting way to put it, because I think it actually leads on to something, a question I was thinking of there, in terms of confidence, where you were saying like confidence is an emotion that you think about almost once it's gone. It's a past emotion. In the same way that happiness is. Sometimes, there are a few times in life where you'll generally realize you're happy in the moment of being happy, but most of the time you don't. You look back on it. Yeah. And when I had Dr. Sarah Vora on the show, we talked about one of the problems in mental health struggles is people think happiness is the end goal. When in reality, happiness is an emotion, sadness, depression. We all have all these emotions, but it's being okay letting any of these emotions pass, the good and the bad. And I think confidence is a similar thing, because people look at confidence, I think, that people look at being confident as I lack confidence. The confidence conversation always comes in the lacking of. I lack confidence in the gym. I lack confidence in this scenario. I lack confidence in public speaking. Because when you're confident in something, you take it for granted and you never call yourself confident. I am confident taking personal training sessions. I don't think that, because I've done it for so long. It's just part of my day-to-day routine. I don't need to think about being confident.
Yeah, totally. And even then, the things that you do over and over and over and over again, you might be able to do without even thinking. But there might be, let's say it's in terms of public speaking, there might be some sort of nerves beforehand, which is natural. And it also brings into question that nervousness and excitement might actually be the same emotion, you know? So you're going to get the same experience, the same physical experience you do when you're nervous as you do when you're excited. So you might still expect some of those nerves. And because you're feeling those nerves, you might then label yourself as not confident, even though it's something you've done for years or done it multiple times. And something like that, where you say it's like taking personal training session, for example, it's something you've done so often that maybe, I don't know, maybe in the first few months, it might have been something where we were nervous doing it because it was brand new. You're not quite sure of your footing. You're not quite sure if you are doing things 100% correctly. You've not necessarily got a long client base that have repeatedly signed up with you for you to say you're pretty good at this. You can keep doing it again and again and again. So it's the question of how many areas of our life where we don't recognize that we are confident because we are putting confidence as this big top tier emotion or activity that we must put on a performance to be this super confident person to be able to go do something, when there's so many things in your daily life that you're just ticking the box again and again and again that for someone else would take a ton of confidence for them to do that. You think of how many people enter in the industry are not going to be confident in their first few sessions. And they may look at guys like us, they may not, and go, those guys are really, really confident. What's it going to take to get that level of confidence? It's practice, really. Practice and repetition.
And who says these people you look up to are confident? We're looking at social media, we're looking at, like, even in day-to-day life, right? I'm not going to literally sit there and talk about all the things I'm struggling with. I just get on with stuff. So you don't know these people are confident. I watched a video with Joe Bennett, hypertrophy coach, a clip from his latest seminar. Man, he looks really on top of stuff. I bet he doesn't think that. I'm sure he thinks he's competent. You know, he's got enough evidence behind him now, but I'm sure he has his doubts. And I also think, in the same way happiness isn't the end goal, do you think confidence is the end goal?
I think capability is the end goal. Like being able to handle what life throws at you, which doesn't necessarily take confidence. You just need to be capable to handle it. I think capability is more of an end goal, which doesn't necessarily mean you need to be this confident person, but you certainly need the mindset of, I can deal with this because of all the tools and the experiences that I've got. We think about confidence as we pigeonhole confidence. We look at it as, right, it's the guy that can walk into a bar and just chat to any woman and he's making tons of fucking money. And it's not necessarily that. That's just one aspect of confidence. That's like a social. You could break confidence into as many different areas as you can intellect. People look at an IQ test. Well, an IQ test is just that one type of intelligence. There's several. And I think it's the same with confidence. We just don't study it as much to realize that. So I don't see it as the end goal. Like happiness as well. Happiness cannot be our default. It can't be, because there's too much dark stuff going on in the world for us to live our lives 100% constantly 24/7 happy.
If it's Christmas every day, you wouldn't value Christmas. If you were happy all the time, you wouldn't consider yourself happy. Because it's the lows that make the highs.
Exactly. There's. If you could link it back to what the same conversation we've probably had with a million clients, okay, you can eat this type of food, but if you eat it every single time, you're going to get bored of it eventually. So when you're starting off with your diet, you want to make it as nutritious but tasty as possible, but you can't just repeat that meal that you like over and over and over again, because you're going to get so bored of it within a couple of weeks that suddenly you don't enjoy that meal anymore. So those things that you are doing, like you say, with Christmas, if it was Christmas every day, Jesus, man, then suddenly Christmas is going to suck. So what is the goal every day? Was to do the best that you can. And then the next day is just to do it a little bit better, 1% better, whatever the hell you're doing, whether that's your relationship, with looking after your kids, your business, your body, your meditation, whatever the hell it is, just doing the next day 1% better. And then looking back over 3 to 6 months and going, whoa, look at where I was then to where I am now. That's the confidence right there, is realizing what you've done. It's not necessarily putting on a performance and pretending to be someone you're not and going and doing something. That's I think that's more courage than confidence. I separate those two things. I don't think they're the same.
And
So
I don't think it's always courageous either, because there is a time and a place where faking it till you're making it is courageous. It is confident. It's getting up and doing the things you know you need to do. It's discipline.
yeah.
But how often do people put on a facade to hide the fact that they're really struggling? I think sometimes confidence is showing, hey, do you know what? I don't like this. I'm not good at this. I'm going to do this anyway. I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Speaking out, for use of a better term.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be a long history of people that will have that exact scenario going on where we thought, man, they were confident, they've got it all, they've got their shit together. And then behind closed doors, they're anxious, they're nervous, they're lonely, suicidal, they're depressed, angry. They're the complete opposite of the persona that they put on in public. And
especially guys, how many guys that you I hope you haven't, but if you know someone that's ever committed suicide, unfortunately I have, what's the thing that everyone always says? I had no idea.
No idea. And during my times closest to it, people wouldn't have had a clue. People would not have had a clue, because there were areas of my life where I had to put on a performance. And to be fair, you never know who's actually the real version of me in that point. I don't even know. So that's the problem, is we end up putting on a performance. We repeat that multiple times. Does it become our inherent nature? I don't know. I think we just end up practicing and getting used to being that person we're pretending to be. But again, that can instill some level of confidence, because if that performance is allowing you to do things that you wouldn't normally do, because behind closed doors you're this, I don't want to use it derogatory, but you're this wreck that's not going to go out and push themselves and do all these separate things. By having that area of your life where you are putting on performance, you're going to end up seeing some sort of result, which can help increase confidence. That's why my advice to people whenever they are really, really struggling is to just do something, even if you've got to fake it a little bit, because later down the line, you'll have something to show for it, rather than having absolutely nothing, which 3 months down the line, you're going to feel even worse and you'll go, there's no point to anything, I can't do anything. You can end up in an even darker place. So sometimes it's just the doing that builds that confidence. You don't need confidence to start. You need courageousness. Come on, Rob. You need courage. You need courage. You need bravery. You need fearlessness. All these other things that are not necessarily confidence as one thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the week before I moved out to Hong Kong, I did an open Q&A with me, because I was going, and a few of the other mentors and managers at the city. And Ryan Anderson, shout out to Ryan Anderson, younger trainer at the time, who went, when did you guys get over imposter syndrome? When was the moment where you was it a particular result? Was it a certain amount of results? Was it an accolade? What's the point where you felt like, I got this, I know what I'm doing, I'm good at this? And then John answers, Kevin answers, Matt answers. I'm sitting there going, I'm going to answer something really different here. And I said, I don't think I ever have. But the difference is, I don't consider imposter syndrome a negative. It can be a negative if I let it take over. That being said, without a level of imposter syndrome, without a level of feel that I'm not good enough, without a lack of confidence, I wouldn't have kept seeking out education. I wouldn't have kept seeking out mentors. I wouldn't have pushed further out my comfort zone. I wouldn't have kept doing. I watched a Paul Mort short, actually, ironically, earlier today, where it's like, if everyone's patting you on the back all the time and like giving you confidence, I don't think anyone would ever do anything. You need that bit of fire in your belly. And for me, that feeling of I'm at a level where I don't quite feel, either I don't feel like I'm where I need to be, or I feel I'm going to be found out. A little bit of that, a little bit of a lack of confidence is a positive, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And the imposter syndrome is an interesting one, because I think it's a labeling issue. So if you said imposter syndrome to Paul Mort, who we're going to keep referencing, but I love the geezer. Geezer changed my life. Of course I'm going to keep referencing. If you were to say imposter syndrome to Paul Mort, he wouldn't laugh in your face, but he doesn't believe it's a real thing. He'll say, the word syndrome obviously assumes some sort of illness or defect or something like that. So you'd say, what type of pills are you taking for that? But it's a labeling thing. I see it as a beginner's mindset. which I think we need to do more of in our life, put ourselves in a beginner's mindset so we can learn new things, so we can create new things, so we can level up and push ourselves forward. If you never experience imposter syndrome in your life, maybe you're not pushing yourself enough. Maybe you're staying down in an area where I know this stuff here, I'm pretty good here, and you're never pushing up to the next level. I think it's more a case of we think, okay, I'm not good enough to be here, but there's people below us that will be looking up, going, wow, that guy's really good because he's there. Us in our own mind, in our own thoughts, is going, I'm not good enough to be here. This is terrible. I'm a shout out to Luke McGurk. Luke McGurk did my interview at City. Obviously, I didn't know Patsy. Luke McGurk did my interview, and he had asked why I hadn't applied earlier, and I said didn't feel I was good enough. And we spoke a little bit about imposter syndrome. Those were the two words that he used. I hadn't really heard of it before then, and it wasn't until maybe 6 months into my first year that some of my results were shit hot. One of my results ended up being pretty goddamn popular, and that was within my first year. So I still had that imposter syndrome feeling during that time. It wasn't until later down the line that I'm like, well, I can't have been an imposter because look at what I did. It's the looking back. That's what it is. Imposter syndrome is your thoughts at that moment in time about how other people are thinking about you, or how good you are on the scale, which again, you're probably a beginner, and that's cool. I think it was Propane Fitness posted this the other day that maybe your imposter syndrome just means you're incompetent. And if you're new at something, yeah, you probably are incompetent. So I think it's a labeling thing more than anything.
I also think sometimes it's more about the negative self. Well, obviously, imposter syndrome is about negative self-talk, but it's about the way you interpret your own stuff in your head when you see everything about it. You see everything about you. You're the hero in your own story, and you see parts of other people's story. I'll give you an example, and it's a personal training one. So coaches, listen to this. Let me know, comment, DM me, whatever, if you feel this too, because I'm sure it can't just be me. And as we're in a shout-out mood, I'm going to shout out someone else doing this.
Shout out everyone today.
Yeah. Share the love, right? Because it's all positive. And whenever I put up a result that is, I'm told, literally, I was on a podcast the other day with a guy that yesterday with a guy I quite respect. And he just mentioned and goes, yeah, and if I look at you, you're the guy who gets all the crazy results. And I'm like, yeah, if I want to get shredded, I'm going to work with Simon. I was a bit taken aback. And I'm like, really? Like, I'm one of many that do this. I don't think I do as many as some, I get some results. And I've been thinking for a while, when I post a result up, my inner monologue is, shout out to this client. This client has nailed it. Look how well this guy's done. They have made me look good. Now, to a degree, this is very true. I was the guide. I am Gandalf in this story. They are Frodo. I am Dumbledore. They are Harry. This is all true. That being said, if I go online and I see another coach posting a result, and it's normally Leanne Marshall, because she has, who is, by the way, absolutely killing it and an absolutely delightful person. Have it on the podcast. Go listen to it. But not only are the results outstanding, she works with actors, which helps, and she has Simon Howard taking all the photo shoot pictures. Great business model, by the way. So they all look unbelievable. Like she got 10 out of 10 results that look like 15 out of 10 results, and 7 out of 10 results that look like 10 out of 10 results, right? I see those results online, and I sit there and go, what's Leanne doing? What has Leanne got in her coaching that I don't have?
Right.
But if I put that same quality of result up, like I put up Jack's result, photo shoot picture looked insane. I don't think the same. I didn't give myself the same plaudits that I'm giving other people. So, do you think this is the problem, that people are more critical? We all are worst critic.
We can always look at our own work and go, could have done better. Even if that is a client's result. Could have got them further, could have got them through this month where things just weren't as good and they should have dropped 3% and they didn't, only drop 1%. We can always look back at our own results and our own story and be more critical of that. And we have to, because that's where our lessons are going to come from. We can also learn from other people saying the same thing, but And as much as I would admire the honesty of someone who did this, there's just no place for it on social media to talk about someone's result and really go into that deeper part where they have struggled. Now, sometimes, let's take Leanne as an example, phenomenal results. Sometimes the time frames are like bang on. You're like, oh my God, that's incredible. Of course, they've done incredible. But we don't necessarily see that person's struggles beforehand, before they started using Leanne as a mentor, as a coach, which obviously can help enhance the speed of your result and the quality of your result. We don't necessarily see those struggles. We don't see any struggle. I couldn't tell you the time frame of every single one of Leanne's results. I couldn't. There might be ones that took a lot longer because they had these struggle periods in between. But because it's not very marketable to talk about the struggles, it's relevant because people want to hear that it's not necessarily an easy ride the entire time. We look at other people's results and go, Jesus, wow, that's incredible, without looking back at some of the ones we've done ourselves, which are similar. You've got incredible results. You've got incredible results. I can't tell you every single one of your time frames. I don't necessarily always look at the time frame. Sometimes
I don't think it matters. You get to the end goal, who cares?
Before and after, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it took 5 fucking years.
Or 5 minutes.
Yeah, doesn't matter. So it's so easy to, and this is where the lack of confidence and the imposter syndrome comes from. It's comparing ourselves to other people without looking at what we can do ourselves, because we love to put ourselves down a little bit and put other people on a pedestal a bit too much sometimes, shall we say. Leanne's absolutely killing it. If we were to have a proper conversation and sit down with Leanne, she might say there's areas where she really thinks she could do better. We'd be like, how? The results are phenomenal, you know? But we're not.
And it also, and I'm not doing this to put myself on a pedestal, but I know that she's asked me for advice for things. If you looked at social media, you would think it should be the other way around. Another one I always think at the moment is Kevin. You know Kevin Hoare?
Yes.
Shout out podcast, right? I mentored Kevin, right? Bastard's got to come off junior year for probably not now, but was. Yeah. And incredible coach. He has gone through his own transformation. He looks so good, so good. And I sit there because I'm almost hesitant to go to Ireland and visit him if I come back, because people are going to think it's the other way around.
But that's it. I'd link this back to, so I turned 40 end of November. I'm trying to diet down. Maybe not necessarily photo shoot shape. I'm trying to diet down so I can go, this is what a 40-year-old can look like. And I'm 100% bigger than I was when I did my original photo shoot in 2018, right?
Remember what I said to you when I first time I met you in person back in July? One of the first things I said. I
think you said I was the C word. I shouldn't be working at. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, massive bellend.
Yeah.
No, I first thing I said was you're bigger than I thought you were.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Again, shout out episode. Share the love in terms of we're going to improve everyone else's confidence with this episode. Do you know who's much bigger than you think they are? Paul Standall.
You said this. Yeah.
Much more jacked than I thought. I was like, whoa, Jesus Christ.
I would love to see all of those muscle mentor, pro coach, and what the other guys have split off into. I would love to see all those guys in the flesh, because I reckon they're so much fucking bigger than Instagram makes them look. I reckon
Luke's a monster.
Really?
Luke Hoffman.
I mean, Al's 100 kilos now, and the geezer's fucking 8'20", whatever the hell. I bet he looks absolutely ginormous now. But you look at my original photo shoot, and I've got people, even one of my clients loves it. He wants to see it all the time. Really thinks I look phenomenal on it. And I look at it and I go, I look skinny. There's areas here I could have lost more fat. I don't like it. I don't look great. That's why I don't share it that often. And I've got certain trainers that are using photo shoot pictures from way, 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 way back that are nothing like they look like now, because they're not getting lean again. But I look at that and I don't share it because I don't like it. I think I could have done so much better. But I have to remember, other people look at it and go, that's the pinnacle. That's fucking amazing. See all these muscles, you look incredible. It's proof you know what you're talking about. So
was that the pinnacle for you before you joined the gym where the standard was higher?
What was the pinnacle for me?
Because I think this, I thought I was in really good shape, and then I joined UP, And when I joined, it was Justin, it was Nick, it was like these monsters. Eddie is one of the most, like, he's big, don't get me wrong, but he's not like bodybuilder big, but he is one of the most genetically unbelievable humans in the world.
Yeah.
And you walk into that environment, and I was like, this is the day where I'm always going to feel small for the rest of my life.
100%. I walked into the gym, I've got Ollie Foster, Barry Pitts, Jay Wallace, Matt Earls, Tommy Guns, and that's when imposter syndrome crept in.
When Tom is the sales guy. He's bigger than half the trainers. I'm like, oh, that's it. I'm out.
And you had the absolute, I don't know if you ever met him. Did you ever meet Pete Katarski?
Of course I've met Pete Katarski.
Yeah, absolute legend, Pete Katarski. God, I miss him. Walking around, half serious, half joking, going, what are all these small trainers here? And I felt tiny. And even then when I did my shoot, I still felt so tiny because I had to diet down even smaller than what I was. For me, it's weird. I love to tell people that UP kind of broke my perception of what lean is, because before then I would have looked at Brad Pitt in Fight Club and gone, he's shredded. Ryan Reynolds in Blade Trinity and gone, the geezer's so shredded. I look at them now and go, man, they got 8 weeks. Yeah, they're not nowhere near lean. They've got so much.
On that note, massive tangent, but do you hear today apparently Zac Efron admitted his PED use for Baywatch?
Yeah.
I think who cares? They're not cheating at anything. It's not a sport.
Who gives a fuck? He's an actor. Yeah. There's a very small handful that will not be using PEDs. A small handful. And those are the ones who are probably in shape the entire time. And I could probably name you 2 or 3 that I reckon. But that's a topic for another day, isn't it? PEDs and actors.
Yeah.
So again, it's this confidence thing is other people's perceptions first. We don't necessarily look at ourselves and say we are confident, because you don't show that confidence until you're acting in a certain situation, which requires outsider perspective as well. So in terms of, I mean, God, what was the pinnacle for me in terms of, what was the biggest thing that stopped my imposter syndrome was just having a list of results and my own photo shoot pictures that later down the line, once I built some muscle and created a different physique and can start seeing more muscle at a much, much higher body fat percentage, I'm a lot more confident dieting down for my 40th and much more confident that I'm going to look a lot better than that original picture. But some people look at that picture and go, that's incredible. Like, how can you ever look better than that? In my head, I'm going, shit, I don't want anyone to see it again. So I don't share it.
A lot of the things we've spoken about here are you worked hard, you got evidence behind you. So you got results, you got whatever, right? You go out on a night out, you get some phone numbers. Confidence built up by evidence. So if practice and experience builds confidence, how would you explain someone who's done something that no one in their network has done, or someone that's not done something that no one has ever done? How would you build confidence if you're Roger Bannister to beat the 4-minute mile? How do you do the marathon that Kipchoge did, or the Joe Rogan experience wasn't a thing? Like, how do you gain confidence, do you think, obviously we're not these people, to do something that's never been done because there is no evidence at all that it can?
Sure. So would Roger Bannister have said on that day, if he'd been pre-interviewed beforehand, that he was confident he was going to smash the 4-minute mile? We don't know. That is the first person to ever go in space. Can you say they were confident doing so? Or was there just some sort of, I don't know, almost laser focus that nothing else matters and it's just the task in hand is all that matters? And conditions being perfect, their previous training, the mission, whatever the hell, everything just being right on the day, that those things can happen. And that's not to take anything away from these people whatsoever. I'm not trying to say you're not going to do that unless conditions are perfect beforehand. It takes an amazing athlete such as Roger Bannister. Well,
Kipchoge is a great example of that. Kipchoge, everything was scientifically made. The weather, the environment, the terrain, the football, everything was made to ensure it. No one's going to run the London Marathon and beat him.
Yeah. If you look at Bolt, historically a terrible starter. if you were to take the 100 meters and split it down into every 10 and say, right, if you're a terrible start, you're not going to win a race, you might as well give up. We never would have had Bolt as an Olympic and world champion and world record holder. Never would have had it.
But also, just throwing the genetics card in there, it takes about 3 steps to do 100 meters.
Yeah, exactly. So again, like those first few races, would you have interviewed Bolt beforehand and he says, yes, I'm confident I'm going to do this today? You don't know, because obviously anything can happen on the day. But he knows what he's done. He knows where his focus is, what his mindset is. It's the task at hand. He can't just get on the start line and go, right, I'm confident I'm going to win this. Doesn't matter. You still have to try, still have to put that effort in, still have to rely on all the training, all the baseline stuff that you've been doing for however many years leading up to that point, taking away what genetically gifted God that he actually was. And that's the thing. That's why you can't just rely on confidence as one thing to be able to do what you want to do. You can't rely on it as a pre-event emotion. You can't rely on confidence going up to that girl and asking for a number, because the conditions have to be perfect that she actually finds you attractive at the same time. Because if that is not there, no amount of confidence is going to work. You're just going to come across as egotistical, which is what we would label as someone with too much confidence. But again, those two things are separate. You can have loads and loads of confidence going into something because someone going up into space is confident that they know what they're doing and that everything else beforehand, everyone's done their job to make sure that person can get up into space and not die. Would we say that astronaut is egotistical? Probably not. Probably not. I imagine just like anyone else, they're probably in that. They could be a hardcore atheist. I bet when they're sat in that seat, when the countdown goes, they're probably having a little pray, putting it in the hands of someone else, you know? It's such a fascinating subject, confidence, you know?
Do you think confidence is nature or nurture? Do you think it's entirely nurture?
I don't think it's entirely nurture. I think in terms of certain personality traits that you inherit can lead to a more confident person or a more fearless person in certain areas. But I think majority of it is nurture.
But if you look at those inherited things, how many of them are directly nature, or how many of these things are early nurture? For sake of argument, someone that's born into an affluent family potentially have the chance, unless they have parents that are going to have to live up to the standards, are potentially going to be more confident because they never have financial insecurity.
Sure.
Like things like that, they're early nurture because they've never, ever, ever, ever had to worry about it or learn about it. So it's still nurture, just nurture from the age of 1.
Yeah, true. And essentially, so you could also argue that with, let's say there's a family with a long line of men, high testosterone, high muscle mass, hard workers, confident in what they're doing. That new kid that's born, okay, probably genetically is going to look pretty goddamn good by the time he gets to like 12 to 15 compared to other kids, and genetically will be predispositioned to have higher testosterone levels, which will lead to higher confidence and more better personality traits, that sort of thing. But if he's in that line of guys from 1 onwards, well, maybe not 1 onwards, but from very, very early onwards, he's going to know how to eat properly. He's going to be fed very well. He's going to see his father and his grandfather and his uncles working out, working, looking after themselves. So again, I guess maybe it has to go more hand in hand. Maybe. Because I think nature-wise, if you then took that kid and put him in an entirely different family, would they necessarily turn out the same way? No, because the nurture's going to have to. I forget the name of this documentary I saw. It was on Netflix. It was about these 3 identical twins. It's incredible. As I talk about it, I'm going to Google it. It was about these 3 identical twins that were all separated at birth. 3 identical twins. Come on, Rob. Triplets. There were 3 identical triplets. Jesus. It's because I'm not through my monster yet. 3 identical triplets, right? And they were separated at birth for whatever reason. I'm not going to give the entire game away because it's a fascinating documentary. And it brings into case the nature versus nurture argument. from a very, very early age, they've gone into three entirely different environments. But when they all kind of met each other through random events later in life, there were so many personality similarities. It was kind of scary. It's a really good documentary. I don't want to give the whole game away.
The twist in that is unreal.
Is incredible. Incredible. For the life of me, I'm on Netflix now. Can't remember what it was called.
I remember.
3 Identical Strangers.
Yes.
3 Strangers. Incredible.
I agree.
Incredible. Yeah.
So tell me about a moment in your life that you think was a turning point in building your self-confidence.
I would say, going back to what we spoke about very, very recently, that turning point as I was reaching 30 and I entered a very, very different phase of my life where I started taking better care of myself. I wanted different type of relationship. I started talking to more people. I became self-employed. I would say around about that time. And it was this thirst, this aggressive voice inside that was demanding better of myself, which meant I had to take a look at what I actually wanted. And what that ended up becoming was I didn't want to be in that relationship I was in. I didn't want to be this overweight, out of shape. Okay, I was Olympic lifting and I was strong. I was overweight. I was out of shape. Walking upstairs was terrible. I had a gut. I didn't like it. I didn't want to be managed. I was not. And even now, I know we'll talk about this on another day because ADHD diagnosis is pretty much there. So, yeah, man.
So in the club,
I can't be managed. I'm going to listen to the Luke Lehman episode as well. I can't be managed. So it's better for me to be self-employed, which comes with its own issues anyway. And I would not have said I was a confident person before the age of 30 in any area of my life, apart from the fact that I would get up on stage and play gigs. Apart from that fact. Would I say I've only...
Sorry to kick off there, but how did you gain the confidence to do that? Because that is a terrifying thing for a lot of people.
Even then, I never would have said I was confident. Anyone asked me about it, I would say every single gig, I'm bricking it before I get on. Absolutely bricking it. But again, it's later down the line, I've realized that nervousness is also excitement. My heroes growing up were wrestlers and rock stars. And that's all I ever wanted to be, was either a wrestler or a rock star. So I went more down the rock star route because it's less painful and I didn't have to, take anything. So I went down that route instead, which was, there's no feeling like playing live in front of people. Doesn't matter if it's 2 people or 200. There's no feeling like it. So that's what I ended up doing. And I did it because I enjoyed it, because I valued it. I would never have said I was confident doing it. And to be fair, when we had a bad gig, it would really, really affect me because I wanted things to be so good and I wanted things to go well. But the amount of times we came off stage going, that was terrible, people are coming up going, oh my God, you guys, that was amazing. That was so good. Well, like, what? It was terrible. This didn't work. That went well. We've got this. Again, it's that you always got a different perspective to how someone else is looking at it. So later in life, I've also kind of discovered that playing live fed my need for attention. And before then, I never thought I had a need for attention. I thought I wanted to be left the fuck alone, be introverted, live in the woods, in a cabin, no one ever talked to me. And there's still a major part of me that wants to do that. But I have to admit there is a need for attention there as well. And we can't be isolated creatures. So how does this need for attention serve me? Well, I get dopamine hits from people thinking I'm pretty good. I get to entertain people, make people laugh or make people sing or whatever the hell it is. And that makes me feel pretty good that I'm doing that for other people. And it makes me want to do it more and more and more. The best gigs are the ones that have had the best atmospheres. The very, very best gig I've ever played was Brownstock Festival. Rest in peace, Brownstock. You were incredible. We were sub-headline act on the Friday night before DJ Yoda went on and played a DJ set. And the crowd for the band before us, shout out Creme de Chev, you guys are incredible and I miss you guys as well. The crowd was huge. And there was a big enough gap between Creme de Chev and then us. And loads of people disappeared. And I was like, this is going to be... I saw the crowd and I was like, this would be amazing, but it was nerve-wracking. And when I saw people disappearing, I was more nervous. I was like, we're going to be playing to no one. This is going to be terrible. I was more nervous of a bad gig that I wouldn't enjoy. Within the first couple of songs that we played, there were hundreds. By the end, it was difficult to tell because it was night and you couldn't see everyone. Our bassist reckons there was thousands. And I agree. I think there were thousands. And it was all songs people knew. We do a 45-minute hip-hop medley. So everyone knows these songs from the 90s and the 2000s.
I did not take you for a hip-hop guy.
Oh, bro, I love it. I love it.
I knew you liked it, but I wouldn't have thought... That time I seen you polishing the guitar, I wouldn't have thought you would be a hip-hop band.
So this is called... And you guys can check this out on Spotify. It's called Grizzly Bears with a Z. And we're so close to getting sued by the Canadian band Grizzly Bear. Grizzly Bears with a Z. And it's on Spotify. And it's the 45-minute hip-hop medley played by rock musicians. And we have fun with it. We're not taking ourselves seriously in the slightest. And you'll hear that as soon as we start playing. We're not taking ourselves seriously. We know we're, three white guys and one Chinese guy playing a predominantly black music genre. We're not trying to claim it as ours. We're just having fun, playing songs that everyone knows and everyone loves. And these thousands of people are all singing along, dancing, clapping, smiling, laughing. That was the greatest gig of my life. That was one of the greatest moments of my life. Had you had the same number of people and they were stood there looking bored and angry and they didn't want us, we're just in the way of DJ Yoda or something like that. I want to say it was DJ Yoda it might have been Dizzy Rascal. I want to say it was DJ Yoda. I'm certain it was DJ Yoda. DJ Yoda might have been before Dizzy Rascal. I can't remember. We're going back a while. So if you had the same number of people, which most bands would kill for, and everyone's looking bored and they're not looking like they're enjoying it, I would have walked off going, that was absolutely terrible. That was a horrific gig. That was terrible. If it had been 200 people or 20 people and they were all smiling, laughing, dancing, the same reaction that everyone was doing, I would have walked off going, best gig ever. Same thing. The number of people made no difference to me. It was the atmosphere, the energy we were feeding off of each other, because the more they were enjoying it, the more I wanted them to enjoy it. And therefore, the more I was enjoying it. The video footage of the whole thing, I have to find it. It is so much fun to watch. So, and that massively, massively increased my confidence. But then I still go on stage now, bricking it. But I have to remind myself, I'm not bricking it. I'm just excited. And I want it to go well. That's what it is. But other people who don't hear my thoughts in the 10 minutes before I'm due to go on, when I come off, I have a friend that calls me Mr. Confidence. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you haven't got a clue. You haven't got a clue what's going on in here. But I must be Mr. Confidence to be able to do that because other people aren't doing that. But it's not necessarily they're not confident, so they don't know how to do so.
And it all goes back to what we were saying at the start in terms of confidence being situation dependent. You keep coming back to introversion and extroversion. I don't like terms I'm an introvert and extrovert because I think that is situation dependent. If someone asked me, are you an introvert and extrovert? I couldn't tell you. You put me in a party with my mates, and I can be extroverted. You put me in a party with my mates, sometimes I want to be introverted. You put me in a party with strangers, sometimes I'm in the corner. You put me in a party with strangers, sometimes I'm like, fantastic, nothing to lose. I can be whoever I want to be. And sometimes I want a night on my own. I don't think I think it's too simplistic a label to say people as introverted and extroverted, and I think it sometimes hold people back. I'm not going to do that because I'm an introvert. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're human. There's a huge spectrum in this. And I think people use it as an excuse.
100%. We love to label ourselves, and we love to label ourselves down. We love to put ourselves down because it then puts us in this nice, neutral, friendly zone where no one's going to attack because we're not putting ourselves up there to be attacked. We're just going to carry on doing our own thing. It's cool. We're introverted. You're just intensely comfortable with your own company, and you are anxious about what other people think. That's all it is. Those two things are. And there's so many resources you can use to overcome those anxious thoughts about what other people are thinking. One of the best things I ever read or heard Jordan Peterson say, he was talking about introverted people. What do you do when you're at a party? And he's saying, well, you're not introverted. You're just anxious about your thoughts, what other people are thinking about you. And he says, you've got this great opportunity at this party to just stand and watch. Just watch what's happening. Watch how other people are interacting. What's the conversations about? How much are people drinking? how do people know each other? Is there anyone else there you would say that you're looking at you would say is introverted? I can't remember everything you went to into the video, and it just kind of really hit me that yeah, you're not introverted. You're just outside of your comfort zone because you're not used to being in large crowds or talking to a lot of people, or even necessarily being the center of attention. But you can fucking flip that. How can I be an introvert that loves being center of attention? The two things don't go hand in hand. So I can't be an introvert.
Exactly. That's very much what I consider myself as well. And I also situation dependent want to be the center of attention. If I'm with a group of trainers and I want to, and I my task is to run education, you're damn right I want to be center of attention. And I will put the spotlight on other people, but I want to do a TED talk. I want to be on stage. I want to do all this stuff in my life. That is the epitome of I want to be center of attention.
Hell yeah.
But if you put, but there's so many circumstances where I absolutely don't want to be. And I think sometimes it's a reframe, right? We spoke about this with the dating thing last week about that dating coach where a girl can only be 5 unless she had, that reframed my ability to chat.
Yeah.
I think reframing, you could look at this thing as like, oh, I'm an introvert. I don't want to go to this party where I don't know anybody. You could take Jordan Peterson's advice. So I don't think it's bad advice. It's a great opportunity to watch and see what people are doing. Or you can sit there and say, I'm at a party and nobody knows who I am. I don't have to be anybody. I don't have to live up to a standard. I could be whoever the fuck I want to be. And it doesn't matter because I don't know anyone. No one's going to remember me tomorrow. Yeah. And the moment, the defining moment, I think I always go back to, the defining moment in my life that transformed my confidence to a degree more than any other moment was my first ever night at university. So I go to university, my parents take me down, and I find my halls and get my bags and all this kind of thing. And I went to uni where I had a couple of mates that went to the same uni. And I made I said to my mate, because I didn't know what uni was like, but I thought it'd be much easier to kind of I kept in touch with this mate, but like, I thought it'd be easier just to go, okay, so we'll go to the pub down the road or something like this. I didn't think about uni. I didn't know what it was. I was 17, 18 years old. So I was like, we'll meet up at the student union. So I sit there and I'm getting to know my flatmates and they're going to have a few beers on the beach. And I'm like, oh, man, I wish I could stay. No, I've committed. I'm saying I'm going to Cape. But because I'd had a few extra beers on the beach, I was a little bit later, so I didn't meet her. So I get up to the student union. Like my parents still there. My dad drives me up, and we saw the queue. And I went and I looked and I was like, "Okay, how's it going? Just got here." She went, "I'm inside." And my dad went, "You're never seeing her again tonight." And I'm like, "I've got a choice. I can either go back down, and be that guy, or just get in the queue." I know no one. I don't see Kate the entirety of that night. So I've got two choices: I sit in a queue. And I'm the quiet one, not having a good time. Or I just have to just be who I am. And if the person I speak to next doesn't like me, there's about 7 million people in this queue.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I've never made so many friends so quickly in my life. I've never got on with people. And I realized, like, this isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Yeah. As long as you've got energy and you're up for it, I was like, there's nothing like it. And I think the thumbnail of this we've been discussing is both of us in fancy dress. And I generally think fancy dress helped my confidence so much evening. Because it made you the center of attention. Even in the moments you didn't want to be, it brought people to come and speak to you. And I always said at a fancy dress party, there are 3 kinds of people at a fancy dress party. There are the people that come in no outfit at all, which is fine because they could say they didn't know, right? So they just have a normal night, good or bad, depending on how much they put themselves out there. You have the person that goes like me, who goes all in. You've seen a couple of outfits of me today. Go all in on this fancy dress, and you're the life and soul of the party. And people want to hang out with you because you don't take yourself so seriously. That's always a fun person to be. You break that barrier to entry with communication so quickly. Or you're the person that puts a hat on and says, yeah, I did the fancy dress. People think that's the easy option if they don't want to look stupid. You look the most stupid. The person that half-asses fancy dress looks the most stupid. No one wants to speak to them because they're the person who's boring enough to not do it properly.
particular event where I was Pink Panther, I think there was a couple that didn't turn up. I think there was a couple that didn't turn up. And there were the ones, and there's also the ones where it's the same costume every time.
Yes.
They'll go, I love a fancy dress party, but it's the same costume every time. It's the only one they've got, the only one they can be asked to buy. And what I thought was incredible was it was a mate's housewarming. And he went all out. I think, what was he? He was Kato in the Green Hornet. Not Kato. He was incredible, like full bought costume, looked incredible, right? Can't remember for the life of me what his missus was. One of my other mates came straight from work, and he's not the type of guy that would go to a fancy dress store. He is not the type of guy to be center of attention either, but he ended up being center of attention because he was my favorite costume of the night. He was in his work uniform, not uniform, he was in like a suit, grey trousers, pink shirt. He got a fake beard and he wrote turd on his head. And that was it. He's the most quiet guy. He's not going around talking to everyone going, look at me, I've wrote turd on my head, I'm so cool. He's just like, what the fuck can I do? Fuck it, I'll just write turd on my head, fake beard, I'm come from work anyway. And for me, that was my favourite costume of the night. It was incredible.
My parents went to this has gone off the top of the podcast, but this is way too fun. My parents went to a New Year's party at a pub near them. And it was a fancy dress theme party, and the theme was tube stations. That sounds weird, but when you actually think about it, this is brilliant. You could dress as an angel for Angel. You could go Oxford Circus, go dressed as a circus person or an Oxford student, or there's all these options. And the best outfit was the most simple, like this. He took, those beer mats you get on the bar to soak up any beer that's spilled. So we got one of those beer mats. It's a Foster's beer mat. And he put it through his zipper. So he was Cock Foster's.
It's genius. That's a beautiful mind right there. I like that. Simple as well. And memorable. Yeah. And who's not going to laugh at that,
Much more simple than going dressed as the BP oil spill. For people who didn't know what happened off air, this is probably my two most unique fancy dress outfits I ever had. One was I went to it was a glam and grime theme, and I had a friend that could sew, and she sewed like half a smart suit, smart trousers, half a tie, half a mustache, like a twirly mustache, and then had a beard, like stubble the other side, old dirty shirt, ripped jeans, like almost like I was half tramp, half like lawyer, sewed down the middle. The other one, and I didn't finish the story, Rob, before we came on the air, so I still want to see what you should take on this. But I ended my first year in my first relationship. If Lisa Whaley ever watches this, I very much apologise. I'm older, wiser, and like to think slightly more mature. But I didn't handle the breakup too. And it's a very small, if anyone's been to Aberystwyth and Wales, have very small, tiny communities. So we all shared the same friends. So I was still invited to this birthday party. So I wanted to go and do my bit. But I also didn't want to, I wanted to piss her off a bit. So she's a big environmental, climate change, all good causes, like generally good. I'm not taking the piss and stamping on any of these things. But I thought best way to annoy her would be go dressed as the BP oil spill. So I get a big black bit of material to wear as a cloak, kind of a mask, like a Halloween mask, which is just like completely black, and a staple BP sign, like cardboard dead fish all over me. And if that wasn't bad enough, staples do not last. And when all these things fall off, you look like a black ghost. And I tell you what, I in today's world, I would. That's the thing that would, if I ever get famous, that's the thing that would ruin my presidential campaign.
You'd have been gone. That's it. You're shitting on the history of colonialism and slavery by being a black ghost. That's ridiculous, Simon. How could you do such a thing? Bringing back on the confidence conversation now. On there's a great segue actually. Somehow I've managed to pull this back. But a lot of people will think when they look at I want to be more confident and they're trying in the pursuit of this, they think it's about being cool. Or the talk, we use the Jordan Peterson, you look into Chris Williamson. The things that people are aspiring to be is they're looking at things to improve their status. They're looking at look better, become more financially independent. But every now and again, we see somebody who is not cool at all by traditional standards, has confidence in abundance. And we can't all be cool. I certainly am not cool. What do you think is happening there? So I heard, it's funny you say that, but this is the thing that's instantly come to mind. Is I heard this guy, his name's Vincent Harringham. He's a writer. He's incredible. I love him. He's someone called him they called him a geek or a nerd or something like that. And he said he come up with like a matrices of geek, nerd, and dork. He said geek is someone with high intelligence, but with social utility. So if you need your computer fixed, or you want someone to do some coding for you, or you want someone who's super, super geeky about a particular subject to teach you about it, they're high in that intelligence, but they've got social utility. You want to use them. The geeks are the ones you're referencing. A nerd is someone with high intelligence, but no social utility. No one wants to hear them talk about their Warhammer toys or something that has no, usefulness to the rest of us whatsoever. That's a nerd. And then there's a dork who just has no intelligence and no social utility at all. So the geeks are the ones there. They're not necessarily the cool people, but because we've used them, they recognize their place in the hierarchy, in the social circle. So therefore they've got confidence there. They've got skin in the game there. I think that's what we're referencing there. It's geeks.
What would you call me? A geek, a nerd, or a dork?
Are you 100% a geek? 100% a geek. 100%. Like, so intelligent, but it's all stuff that's relevant for people.
But relevant for fitness trainers. I could be a dork. I could be a dork or a nerd in other circles. Yeah. Right? Outside of our little fitness bubble, I am not anything else.
Some of my stuff is nerdy as fuck because no one wants to hear you talk about it. But luckily, I've got the self-awareness to know of when to talk about certain things that people want to know and when not to. That takes social awareness that the geek, the nerd, and the dork may not necessarily have. So, mate, we've all got a bit of geek, dork, and nerd in us, 100%.
Do you think, and this is actually, again, we'll do a shout-out, but we'll do our usual shout-out and talk about Chris Williamson, because this was the topic of his TED Talk, and I thought this was interesting. Do you think embracing your weirdness or embracing your insecurities is more important in confidence than status?
100%. 100%. In terms of what true confidence is and how you can actually get ahead in the world, if your confidence is to try and become what you think society wants you to be, then you're always putting on a performance, you're always lying to yourself. Eventually something's going to come crashing, or something's not going to work because it's not actually tied to your values. But I thought that TED Talk was incredible, and it was such an interesting way of putting it. I don't really think I've heard anyone say before, apart from we should embrace our uniqueness. But then we look at what makes us unique. We're not going to necessarily look at what would be classed as potentially a negative trait, which is this weirdness, because that's normally the thing we would hide. So I love the fact. I'd say since that talk, I've been doing that a hell of a lot more since watching that video. I thought it was an incredible video, and it's underutilized. He should be promoting it every single week. The weirdness is what makes us unique. The weirdness is part of our personality, is part of our value system. The weirdness is the thing that if we abandon, then we become boring to ourselves or to other people. So we have to embrace it. I think that's the thing that gets you more confidence as well, is maybe that weirdness has social utility and you have to use it and you have to push it forward and people will ask for it, in which case you're going to get more confidence about it at the same time. Let's go back to the geeks in school who are really, really good at IT related stuff that we might have taken the piss out of. That, my God, I kind of wish I knew that stuff back then because it would make things a hell of a lot easier now. Or that could be more to do with the biology students, or it could be to do with, my God, how many people should have done cooking at school properly? Because the amount of adults my age and above that don't know how to cook is embarrassing. But I bet they probably took the piss out of the kids that were doing the cooking class, home economics, whatever you called it back then. Like, if you'd realised how much social utility was in that then, you'd probably have a lot more confidence in the kitchen now than you currently do. How many adult clients do we take on where they're like, I just don't know how to cook? How did you not learn? How did you not? Okay, you didn't learn it at school, but you've had 20 years to learn. How are you not confident in this? Because you didn't do it.
Yeah, how was that goes back to what we talked earlier on about environment, right? In the sense of the kids at school you may have taken the mick out for doing coding. Sometimes the most confident people are people that didn't actually have the most good upbringing. It's that lack of confidence in their early years that's made them more confident in the later years. How often do you see people, comedians, rock stars, all sorts of people, is that we spoke about Liver King a few weeks ago. Have you watched this episode of Diary of a CEO yet?
I haven't yet. It's on the list. I've got a lot to get through. It's on the list.
He is a confident man in terms of what he does. He sits there with his shirt off, eating testicles and shouts, right? So he spoke two things I mentioned. Him going and doing that podcast, I said one of the most terrifying things he'd ever done. That was like interesting. But also he comes from a place where he got massively bullied. Matt Lucas, one of the greatest comedians around, certainly for like things like Little Britain, Shooting Stars, things like this, he's written as incredible. Bullied. And that's just scratching the surface of tons of people that their days of lacking confidence has made them more confident because they've had to overcome something. So do you think, can you be confident without doing hard shit?
Confident of what, though?
Good response. But do you think in general doing hard stuff is important? Proving confidence through getting in shape is hard. Ice bath is hard. Getting on a rock star stage is hard. Do you think these things are necessary?
Yeah, I do. Let's use this as an example. Okay, in my 20s, if you told me I was going to get on stage and talk, not sing, not fuck about, not hide behind an electric guitar, talk about men's sexual health, and I don't mean STDs, I mean testosterone and blood flow and erection strength and things like that, and dating dynamics in front of potentially 150 guys, I said, that's never going to happen. See you later. Bye. And in 2 weeks, I'm doing it. And I've not had a year to prepare. I've had literally since Monday that it was announced that I was doing it. Okay, I applied for it. If you told me that in my 20s, I'd said no way in hell. And I would have hid, I just wouldn't have done it. In my 30s, I would have agonized and been wildly underprepared, and it might not have gone as well. Now, I want to do it because I know what can come on the other side of it, which is more confidence. Okay, I'm okay speaking on video. I'm okay speaking in front of, I used to teach. I'm okay speaking in front of like 30 people at a time, maybe 50, but certainly not potentially three figures on a stage. So what's it going to get? What's the reason of me doing it? Okay, there could be more opportunities, branding, reach, business-wise, maybe, but that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I want to say that I did it, and I did something that not a lot of other people are going to get to do or are going to push themselves to do. And I know on the other side of it, I'm going to be a little bit more badass because I stood on a stage in front of 150 people, 150 men, and talked about cocks. So that's pretty bad. And that comes back to the Pink Panther thing. I wanted to go to that party and not just spend money on a costume that I was probably never going to wear again, because that's what puts me off about fancy dress parties. I wanted to go there doing something memorable that other people are going to go, oh my God. It was around about this time that everything was changing in my life and I wanted more confidence. I wanted to go there as something that everyone would go, oh my God, that's ridiculous. How has he got the bravery to do this? Because that's how I wanted people to start looking at me. That's the type of person I wanted to become. I went to the fancy dress shop way too late than what I should have done. I think it was like the night before, if not the day of. And I just said to the woman, what have you got that's ludicrous? That's the word I used, ludicrous. And she was showing me all sorts of things. You could do this, you could do that. This is you as a pirate girl. And I was like, it's not enough. And then I saw the giant pink, fluffy Pink Panther onesie that you can't see in that photo that has a tail, that has a 4-foot long tail, that because the costume had been used so many times was actually curving around the front. So it looked like I had a giant pink wang. And to be fair, most of the night I spent holding it like a giant pink wing. It kind of ticked my need for attention. It made me a little bit more badass because, man, if I can go to a pink fancy dress costume party dressed like that and look that ridiculous, then what else can I do? And that links into, okay, now I'm going to do this talk. If I can do that, what else can I do? Because I must have a level of confidence to be able to do that. But it's going to be hard. I've got to prepare for it. I've got to rehearse. I've got to make sure I get it right. I've got to get through the nerves on the day. I've got to remember what I'm talking about. I've got to make sure it entertains and actually delivers value at the same time. It's not going to be easy. It's not just a case of stepping on stage and talking about something I know about. That would be easy, but that's going to come later down the line. And that's the stage I want to get to. So we have to do this hard shit. I don't think anyone gets confident without doing hard shit. And if they do, it's a performance which is only going to last for so long. And those are the ones that probably behind closed doors are suffering a little bit more because they've not actually got anything to show for their actions because they're not doing any of the hard stuff.
A couple of things I brought back of that. One of them, this is me pushing myself out of my comfort zone for confidence here. I'm going to say something I said to you. I'm going to say this publicly. If anybody here wants to see me get pushed out of my comfort zone, something I want to do, if you go to TEDx website and search for the Hong Kong, if you would like to see me try and prepare a TED Talk, if we can get as many people to nominate me as possible, they'll have to listen. So if you're listening to this and you want to see me, either maybe you want to see me succeed, thank you very much, or you want to see me fall on my face, cool, fine. That might happen. On live, on air, go and nominate me. I'll put the link in the show notes.
Do it. We're going to promote the hell out of this link because you need to do it.
I really
want to. Because only good things can come from it. Only good things can come from it.
I had a mood board in my junior year, like a long time ago. And two things were stepping on stage. One was a TED thing, and one was just a picture of Phil Learning at the time, stepping on stage, like a stage full of people. And like I did I've done it a little bit, but like again, smaller fry. It's trainers, it's small fry, it's online. Sure. I've done online in front of a lot of people. There's screens, you know.
It's almost comfort zone still.
Yes,
almost.
It is almost comfort zone. The other thing I was going to say in terms of fancy dress, by the way, I'll ask you this on air because you were saying, well, I had a fancy dress picture of me in drag that was going to be on the original thumbnail for this, and you say, we'll save this for a talk on trans. Have you got one? Because the YouTube thumbnails are both of us, dude.
I don't think I have.
Well,
honestly,
you've got to put on a dress before the episode and take a selfie.
I have to do it. Or I could just dress up as something else entirely and say I'm identifying as that. I might have one of a. No, I don't think I haven't actually done that many fancy dresses. I actually haven't done that many.
Halloween this year. Episode in fancy dress.
Oh yeah. Sold. Yeah, sold.
Oh, I've got a few. I've got a whole Pennywise outfit up there to put on. Yeah, I did it a couple of years ago in Hong Kong. We had literally this was the lineup. I was the only person. There's this thing in Hong Kong, and it's seeping over slowly into the UK as well. But people don't understand what Halloween is. I went to a Halloween party last year. I wanted to go as the Fiend from WWE. I bought the mask and everything. They ended up going as the Addams Family because we wanted to have a group one. But we were the only people in Halloween outfits. They had people from Tekken. They had people from Squid Game. They had people from like just random stuff. Or people was a bar of soap. I'm like, what kind of scary bar of soap do you have? This is supposed to be scary. So this was the thing. We had me, Pennywise. We had my mate James as a Hooters waitress with like dangly boobs. We had my mate Tim as someone from some sort of Japanese anime thing. It's not my area of expertise. It's probably very popular. I just don't know. And we had Donald Trump. Very eclectic bunch of people. Going into the embracing you in a weirdness stuff that we were speaking about earlier on. So we can do this. What are the few things you think makes you weird?
Jesus. My fascination with the arcane, looking into things that other people will just dismiss as fairy tale or legend or nonsense. I always like to look a little bit deeper because I don't know why it fascinates me, but it does. And it kind of makes me question reality, which I think we should do. Some of my creativity, maybe if you're not creative, you don't have somebody's this weirdness. Maybe, I don't know. I think it takes a certain level of creativity to be weird because you are creating something weird. But then I might say Someone with zero creativity is the weird one. I don't know. It's difficult to define what is actually weird without looking at nature and nurture again. So what else makes me weird? Some of my musical ideas are ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. For me, it's the type of stuff I'd like to listen to, which means that other people are making these ideas that others will think is absolutely ridiculous that I absolutely love. It doesn't necessarily have to be eclectic either. It doesn't have to be weird jazz or insane classical music or anything like that. It doesn't even have to be that difficult to play or to write. But there are some ideas I come up with where I'm like, not everyone's going to listen to this. Not at all. It's pretty weird. But I like doing that.
I once talked about embracing inner weirdness, got caught out. I was training. I was doing some heavy safety ball squats, listening to bagpipe music. Because while I love it, I think it's one of the most powerful instruments in the world. Ellie hates it. I'm trying to convince her to get some for the wedding. But it's such a part. I'm very proud, despite not sounding, I'm very proud to be Scottish. So the power of the music, the fact that it makes me feel very at home. And I finished my set, stomping away, grunting away, take my headphones off. My colleague goes, "You listen to bagpipes?" No. And then I went immediately on to carry on my weirdness and put on pro wrestling themes.
Yeah, 100%. What it comes down to, I think, I don't want to insult anyone, but for me, listening to house music during your workout is weird. That's weird for me. When
do you pick up your 1 rep max deadlift on that boom, 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 boom?
Yeah.
I don't care how often you say how long to say I'm going to wait for the drop. 32, still haven't heard it.
And I get it. That repetitiveness, same as some people listening to techno when they work out, that repetitiveness could help you get into like a flow state. I get it. But I think it's pretty weird.
Without pills?
Without pills as well. Weird, right?
So
I would much rather use something with a lot more emotion, a lot more highs and lows, something a bit more dynamic and less repetitive, personally.
Give me drum and bass.
Could be.
I'm all right. I'm all for that. Drum and bass, heavy metal. Good.
Yeah. So I would say that's weird. Other people would listen to you and go, bagpipes, are you working out? Well, that's weird because it's not traditional and it doesn't invoke the same emotion in them that it does in you. Majority of the time, I'm actually listening to power ballads when I work out. If I want a really good workout and I'm in the right mood, my power ballads playlist is on. But how many people would be like, why would you listen to something sad? And I don't know, man, there's power and emotion and dynamism in there. So for me, it works. But for other people, it won't.
Pro wrestling's a weird one because that's generally what people would consider it weird, right? And pro wrestling has this brilliant, amazing ability, right? You can have the greatest technical wrestling match in the history of the world with like flips and like acrobatics and this crazy, almost circus show, stunt show. But when your mum and dad walk in, it'll be the bra and panties match. It'll be Vince doing something really strange, which he's got caught out for doing things straight off camera now. But like, it has this ability of just the most embarrassing moments of the show. The reason why you just got to take the rough with the smooth happen at the times where someone walks in, and they reaffirms to them why it's fake, innit? So Star Wars, mate. So is Star Wars. Doesn't stop you watching it.
So it's fucking reality, man. Everything's fake. When you really, really look at it, everything is fake. Because you don't know, I'm going to go on a rant here, because you don't know what in your life has actually been pre-programmed for you from generations beforehand, what is coming from peer pressure, what is coming from social media pressure. You don't actually know what is real because you are just in your one experience. And again, you can then get into the realm of quantum physics then. None of this is actually real. So you might be laughing at at someone who's watching wrestling, but your celebrity worship certainly isn't real because those people aren't real. Your own relationship really kind of isn't real because you're acting a certain way to be with that certain person. None of this is actually real. The whole thing is weird. The whole thing is weird, really, when you think about it. But I'm going to stop there. Otherwise, that'll be a 3-hour episode on The Matrix is Real, which we could do one day.
Oh, my God. Can we do that next week?
100%.
So Moving on to some of the elements that we have in this and how much we can impact this, other than getting people doing hard stuff. How much do you feel sleep, stress, lifestyle, training, nutrition, etc., plays a role in confidence?
All of it. All of it does. If your input is shit, you're going to have shit output. I apologize for the light being really, really bad now. I'm right in front of a curtain. If you have shit input, you're going to get shit output. So if you're not eating right, you're not going to create the right hormones, the right neurotransmitters. If you're not sleeping, you're not going to create the hormones, the right transmitters. If you're not training, if you're not pushing yourself, you're going to not create the right environment for growth. It all feeds hand in hand. 100%. The base level for everyone should be looking at what they're eating, how they're the basic lifestyle factors: eating, sleeping, stress, and I don't know what I'd put in a fourth there. Maybe it's just those three. Maybe it's just those three. What you're actually putting in your body, movement, 100%. And then, okay, you could also look at something like the hierarchy of needs. Maybe that bottom level of the pyramid is at what everyone should be focusing on all the time. So it all feeds into each other. If you're feeling like shit because you haven't slept, you're less likely to push yourself to do something hard and challenging. If you don't like how you look because you eat shit and you're not training, you're going to be less confident going and asking out that pretty girl, maybe, or pushing yourself out in public in any way. You're more likely to be the less confident person. Of course you are. So it all goes hand in hand, man. All goes hand in hand.
So I absolutely couldn't agree more with that. I think as well, like, sleep has such an impact on your mood directly that if you're not sleeping well enough, I know when I have a bad night's sleep, my mood is worse the next day. So how on earth can I be confident when I'm sitting there borderline depressed because I've had 3-4 hours sleep?
Yeah.
We said this the other day, in another previous episode, about how comfortable the world's got, that people are seeking out discomfort. People are seeking out ice baths and acupuncture and, like, hallucinogenic drugs, and like, whether we agree, like, dislike those things, and I think we like all of those things, especially the last one. We seek discomfort, and people forget that people don't go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. They've got discomfort that helps them grow on their doorstep, and they are not using it.
Yeah. And we would think those people are weird. And some of those people think we're weird for doing so. And some people think we are confident going to the gym because they are unconfident going to the gym. When would you say you're confident going to the gym, or would you just say you know what you're doing and it's second nature? But to other people, that's confidence, isn't it?
So before my closing questions, just because we spoke about this and it reminded me of something, you were trying to list things that you would think are important when it comes to playing confidence. Remember on the controversy episode where we went through the Liver King's ancestral tenets?
Okay.
Since then, I have decided to make my own.
Ooh.
I think this may be an episode in itself, but I'm going to breeze through it now. And if there's any demand, or if you want to delve into them more deeply,
make it into an ebook now. Make it into an ebook now before anyone else does. Do it.
Oh, that's a good point. But I need my own name for it. I can't call it the ancestral tenets. I'll get sued.
Sure.
I don't know. I'll try. Kingsley's Kingdom tenants. I don't know. So I'm going to run through them.
He's got them written down.
This is why I went for the whiteboard. It's going to be in reverse. So this is going to be a benefit. People can actually see them if they're on the YouTube video. If you're not, then why aren't you? Come and subscribe to my YouTube, you motherfucker. What are you doing? So 3 of them are nutrition.
Okay.
Because I think there's too much bullshit nuance in the industry, but I also think there's too much, so there's not enough nuance in the industry, but I also think that people are often too strict and stuff. So number 1 is nutrition, the 80 to 90%. If it fits your macros crowd's going too far, and I do think there's an element of when people slam carnivore and vegan and all these extreme diets, there's a massive place for this. Like, people do carnivore, cut all processed stuff and eat nutrient-dense foods, right? Like people don't take that for account. There's calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Right? Feel better, look better, feel more confident. Nutrition 2, the 10 to 20%. And that's where you do throw your little bit of it in there. I think that's important to keep you sane.
Yeah.
3, nutrition, take a cyclical approach. If I take the next person that tells me calorie deficit's the only thing that matters, you need good luck having thyroid and testosterone. Take a cyclical approach, and to macros as well. Sleep, number 4. There you go. I'll share one with Liver King. 5, downtime, emptying the stress cup. 6, sunlight. I'll borrow one again. Steps and aerobics. 7. I don't mean step aerobics. I just mean cardio. 8, lift. 9, community. 10, accountability and awareness. And I put them into 2 because I don't want to make it sound like I'm just trying to push people to have it. Maybe in an ebook I'll push people to my squeeze page. But it's not just about getting a coach and accountability bundle.
I'll make it for you. I'm a copywriter.
Anyway. Oh, fantastic! Yeah. If I give you these a little bit of a write up, can you make me an ebook and I'll sell it?
Easy.
Awareness is like the reason why I put awareness in there is because people, when it comes to nutrition, want to have intuitive eating before they actually know how many calories is in 100 grams of chicken. You have awareness before you gain any sort of confidence, let's say, in going intuitive.
Yes, 100%. You can't. I shit on intuitive eating all the time. I think it's a flawed approach for most people because intuitive eating has got you in the state that you're in now because you're emotionally eating. Okay, you might not necessarily be hardcore binging and stressing all the time, but it's an emotional response. That's why you're eating so much. Can be in emotion too, boredom, anger, stress, grief, whatever it is, but it's an emotional response.
Never go shopping when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. I can't remember who told me that, but it's really stuck with me.
Jesus. Stress is my trigger for eating junk. Stress and loneliness are my triggers for eating junk every single time. So I try not to do either. I try not to be stressed, which I fail. But I try not to be lonely, which I think I'm better at. And therefore I eat less shit, really. I would agree with all those. And 100% the awareness thing. The awareness breeds the confidence as well. That you know what you're doing. Intuitive eating. Competence. Competence and confidence sound like the same word anyway. Is it more competence than it is actually confidence? Maybe. That's a mic drop right there. Is it confidence? I like that.
Last couple of closing questions. So you said there we need a level of confidence. To get a level of confidence, you need a level of competency, right? We've just literally just said that. But how do people take the first step?
Just by taking the first step.
But you know that's a cop-out, right?
Of course it's a cop-out. But what is the first step? Is it putting down the 12th drink of the night and only having 11? Is it not having any drinks that night? Is it coming up with a plan? Is it asking someone for help? Is it getting rid of all the junk in the house so later down the line you're not eating on that junk? If confidence is coming later down the line, the first step is the most important. But what is that first step? Well, obviously it's related to the goal. It's related to your awareness and your understanding of what you need to do going forward. I'm just talking in a fat loss perspective here. It comes from, okay, so you want to get more confidence in the gym, going to the gym. Well, you have to go to the gym. You can't practice at home. You can't watch a dozen YouTube videos. You have to act. That first step is not research. It's an action-based thing. You want to get better at asking for girls' numbers. Well, you're going to have to ask one girl for a number and you're going to get rejected. Cool. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. Because now we have data on what didn't work and we can use that going forward.
And you know it's not as bad as you thought.
And it's not as bad as you thought. I mean, you can have a cold shower and cry in a fetal position, but that's enjoyable. Power ballads on the stereo, that's an enjoyable thing. I do that several times a week. But
we'll do another shout out. We'll do another shout out because we've done a lot of them. Andrew Huberman. You can't solve the mind with the mind. You solve the mind with the body. If you act, acting builds competence, which builds momentum. Build discipline. So, I suppose it's like taking that first step is how break down that first step until it's a thing that you can do, and just keep moving. Sometimes I think people get in their own head thinking that they've got to be perfect. It's like, if I just keep moving, it's another Chris Williams thing, having a good, bad day.
Yeah.
I just keep moving.
Just keep moving.
Some days I'll have a really rubbish day. I'll spend an hour on the sofa. But if I edit one reel, I've kept moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, because many people overthink, and get in their own head with this stuff.
Mm.
We don't look at the evidence we have in front of us. So you mentioned earlier on, you had started building a body of results, and that builds you the confidence, right? So when someone is worrying, overthinking in their own head, or if you're doing it, because I think we all do it at times, how do you slow yourself down, get out of your head, and remember all the things you've done?
You have to sit down and do it. You have to make it not a priority, but you have to take the action to sit down and review. That's why with Paul Mort, shout out Paul Mort, again, every quarter we're doing a review of the previous quarter. 2 weeks, that's what this event is. It's the third quarterly review of the year. Every single week in my journal, I'm reviewing what I've done that week. Every single evening in my journal, I'm reviewing what I've done that day. And it's only until you then look at those things. Okay, so on the daily, I'm doing something good, I'm writing it down, I might not necessarily remember it the next day. But then at the end of the week, when I look at my 5 biggest wins, and I've got 3 wins every single day, 15 to choose from, and I do that over the course of a month as well, and then I do that over the course of the quarter, suddenly that's a lot of confidence building data that I've got to look back at. And if I've not really got any, then that's a red flag to wave and go, right, okay, next quarter, we need to build on this. We need to do this, 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 and this. You have to look back. You only get this level of confidence by reviewing what you've done. So you have to review what you've done. And that's why I think journaling is so important. And people mix the two up because of certain media personalities that just push that journaling is just getting your thoughts out of your head on paper. Well, that's a form of journaling. But you also need to, the better form of journaling has to have some level of practicality to it. What's good about getting your thoughts out of your head? Okay, so it sets you up for the day with a clearer mind and you might be able to be more productive. That's cool. But we have to go deeper. We have to compartmentalize our life a little bit and review the actual data. Otherwise, how are you going to know if you're moving forward?
One last question.
Go on.
If you can give one tip to somebody who wants to improve their confidence right now, after all the things we've said in this, one of the longest podcasts we've recorded since doing this weekly, but I've loved every second of it. What's the one thing they should do?
Become best friends with failure and rejection. That's what you have to do. Have to get used to failing. Because once you fail, you've got data of what didn't work and you can go again, providing it's a goal that you really want to hit. In terms of rejection, okay, I'm just using that in a community and relationship type area, but that extends to so many different areas of your life if you really, really think about it. In terms of being told no, that kind of highlights, do you actually want it or not? And you have to find a different way to get it. Without failure or rejection, there's no growth. There's only comfort. And we know we don't grow in that comfort zone.
I love that. I think it's the perfect way to end that. So, Rob, thank you very much again, man. I'm enjoying these episodes more and more by the week as we come up with good topics. So we're
getting more confident.
We've got a Halloween episode planned in fancy dress. We've got a trans episode so we can get me and drag out to the world. We had what was the thing we said we were going to do next week? Matrix. That's next week, is it? Wow. Well, okay. Maybe it's worth giving that one a little bit more time based on the fact that we've only just done Aliens.
Sure, we've only just done Aliens. Really, really talk about the Matrix and reality being an illusion. Might see me have a full-on existential crisis and meltdown on air. So,
okay. So now I kind of want to. Maybe I kind of want to do that next week now because I'm really intrigued. And then see. Men and Viagra after your talk.
Men and Viagra. Oh, 100%. Yeah. That's going. We'll do that as well.
Awesome. And as I remember, TED link in the show notes, guys. Go and watch at it whilst you're online. Give us a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow Rob on which platform. You have about 17,000 Instagram accounts. Which one are we directing people to?
I can't decide because the whole point of opening a Fat Loss Fast Lane Instagram was to be able to make my personal one, Rob Core, private, where I only just talk about stuff in my personal life and I'm not talking it as a business perspective. I haven't done either yet. So either one is fine. If you want to hear me talk about fat loss, go on Fat Loss Fast Lane. You want to hear me, I don't know, you just want to see what I'm doing in my personal life because you think I'm weird and you want to observe, just go on Rob Core and Yeah, one of the two.
Exactly. And subscribe to YouTube, share it around. If you don't like Joe Rogan, make us more popular than Joe Rogan. If you do like Joe Rogan, try and get us on Joe Rogan. There we go. That's the. I've never plugged it. I've never plugged it in the episode itself. So if you're still listening to this point, help us out because you clearly like us to listen to this long one. Thanks everybody, and I'll speak to you all very soon.